seconds. All right. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Joshua Dial. Um, I kind of was thrust into the national spotlight when The Tiger King came out on Netflix. I served as Joe Exotic's campaign manager um, in 2018. Uh, it was a gubernatorial primary, the first three-way race that we'd had in Oklahoma, and I believe anywhere else, to my knowledge. We had a runoff and everything. But Joe didn't make it to the runoff. Anyone that watched the documentary will know his fate took a different turn. I've spent a lot of my time since the release of the film doing radio shows. Last week I did one that had 4.6 million followers and listeners. And I was able to kind of sneak in the libertarian message along with my answers and stuff. And that's what I've been trying to do. And I think it's a rare chance for a libertarian to get the national spotlight, and even rarer for them to actually use that spotlight to promote issues. So that's what I'm doing. And it's real easy to do it with people. You just tell them, don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. When you do it like that, a lot of people start to pay attention to you. People that wouldn't normally pay attention to you. So, if there was anything I learned from the primaries, it's that nothing will compare to a good old door knocker. We gave out merchandise. We had campaign rolling papers. They were ultra thins too. They were good. I smoked many a joint with those rolling papers. We had condoms, we had t-shirts, we had bumper stickers, we had pens, notebooks, notepads, cards. Joe at one point had bought what was made to look like $100 bill folded up. And then when you opened it up, it said Joe Exotic for governor. I've seen a few of those floating around lately, but they're pretty few and far between. Not many people thought to save that kind of stuff. I mean, who does think to save any of that stuff, All right, so got a first question from Chris. Have you been offered campaign jobs recently? Yeah, I mean, I've been approached by a few people. I was approached by someone out of Texas, and they were alt-right candidate. I mean, they were running to the right of the right people. And I had a couple of folks from the Democratic Party reach out, but I haven't taken any offers or anything like that. Surprisingly, I haven't had a whole lot of libertarians reach out to me, and that's at all. A week ago when everyone was, ghosting my page, I was, getting thousands and thousands and thousands of hits a day. And that would have been a great time for any number of the candidates that are running for president to jump in and say, hey, would you mind doing something for me, getting me an endorsement. I didn't really have anyone approach me. I had a couple of campaigns approach me, but I just think it's symbolic of something that maybe the party as a whole needs to pay attention to, and that's when anytime a libertarian does have a spotlight, you got to run with it. You got to, because fuck the feds really resonated with people. So I got a question from Katie. Were the rolling papers any good? Yes, they were amazing. They were ultra thins. They were from China, but they were amazing. Amazing rolling papers. It's crazy because they're going for like $200 a pop now on eBay. I've got a few packs left, and I mean, that's all we smoked, because just about everybody smoked weed that worked there. It's legal here in Oklahoma medically. So a lot of people smoked, and it was they were good papers. From Jeremy, are they letting you keep the AirPods? Yes, they let me keep the AirPods. That's what I've got in right now. I know there's no audio coming in, but it still helps me. Plus, it lets the folks around me know that I am using the computer. Um, from Nicholas, what are your thoughts on the upcoming gigantic house make of ice? Not sure I really understand that. Maybe I'm being ignorant. Um, maybe I'll just skip down. Someone can clarify that for me. Um, next question. Why do you think fuck the feds resonated with people so much? Many of those people may not even be libertarians. What is your vision for the scope of the federal government? Um, you know, I really think fuck the feds resonated the same reason that the documentary itself resonated. There's a lot of people, tons of people, we saw the numbers, millions and millions of people that are out of work and they are sitting at home. You know, they're sitting at home, and I know just me and my fiance, we sat home and watched everything on Netflix. Um, I actually haven't watched the documentary itself, believe it or not. It's just a little too much for me. Um, but we're in a quarantine. Uh, in essence, it's a you know it's the ultimate infringement on our liberties. But at the same time, it's like a dirty word if you say maybe we should open up. It's like a slander. Like people just hate it to say that. And there's ways of going about it, but I think there's some serious questions and implications for liberty here, and I think that's why it resonated. Every radio show I go on to, like I said before, I tell them, they ask me what's a libertarian. I say, well, to break it down real easy, which is much more complicated, but we believe you shouldn't hurt people and don't take their stuff. And I mean, I think everybody agrees with that. We just have to get them to come to us. We can come to them all we want, but at the end of the day, we have to look appetizing enough to them if they want to come to us, because it's not we don't believe in force. From Chris, have you thought about working with Vermin Supreme? I actually have. I've thought about it. He looks like he's running a really good campaign. Like I said before, I haven't really decided on who I'm going to support yet, but I'm pleasantly surprised that he's doing a real solid campaign. Seems to be really putting in the work in the States. From Craig, is there a libertarian presidential candidate you currently like? Once again, I like all the guys and ladies, but I really don't have anyone that just jumps out at me at the moment that I'd just like to broadcast on Facebook Live just yet. I'd like to hear from some more of them. And, this year is kind of tough. I've waited quite a while to decide, and then everything kind of got put on hold with the coronavirus. From Josh Young, how do you think COVID-19 has been handled? This is a hard question because it's a hard answer, and I don't think there's a right answer. I'm always for the government giving us back money that they stole to begin with. So I'm not necessarily up in arms about stuff, things such as the stimulus. The way I see it, the faster that we can destroy, and well, not destroy, but the faster we can break down the system, I should say, and add to that, I think will kind of bring people to a point where they want to look for a third option. I'm not cheering for us to fail, but if we are failing, those are just facts. And from the beginning, since everyone's known me and I've come to this sudden fame, that's all I've done the whole time is told the truth. And sometimes the facts just don't lie. I see where the people who say that we should stay home essentially and continue to social distance. I can definitely see their point, and to some of their retorts, I have no response. because I have no good answer. But I also see where the folks who want to open up are coming from, totally. From Shane, do you believe there's a natural rights argument for the Federal Reserve's existence? No, no, not even gonna go. I do not. Another one from Shane, do you believe there's a natural rights argument for the Federal's law? Oh, no, sorry. From Braden Pace, what do you think about Justin Amash? Well, I'm not going to be the guy that shuts the door on someone wanting to come in the party. I definitely would prefer to see folks who've really put in the work. One could argue that he has been putting in some work in Congress. And I came from the Democratic Party, so I totally get that sometimes the fastest way to liberty is to go through these folks. That's not popular to say, but it's the truth. Is sometimes if you work through the folks that are in there already, sometimes you can bring about change. So from Amanda, hey Josh, do you think Joe is going to get released sooner, and how do you think Carol will take it? I was actually at the trial when he was sentenced, and she got up there and made a big statement about how she's been living her life in fear for the last decade, 2 decades. She really laid it on thick. Do I think Joe is going to get released sooner? I think he should. I feel that maybe clemency would probably be the best option in this case. I don't believe he should be pardoned outright. They have him on tape. Yes, he was set up, but I don't feel like I don't feel like anyone was hurt. I just from Craig. How did you get introduced to libertarianism? What inspired you to become active? I was introduced by libertarianism at the very beginning by a friend in college. We became roommates. I don't speak with him anymore. He'd be interesting to talk to these days. But he brought me to libertarianism as a thought process, but it actually took me about probably 8 years after that to actually pry myself from the Libertarian Party. I actually really became inspired to become active with folks like Aaron Adams, and more locally here in Oklahoma, Rex Lawhorn, Chris Powell, both of who were Joe's opponents in the gubernatorial primary. They really brought me around because they showed me the heart of libertarianism. So often we are accused of being callous, wanting to throw grandma, under the bus and stuff like that. We get all of these accusations because we want to reduce the size and in some cases eliminate the federal government. So it was refreshing to see how a private response can sometimes, and most of the times, be much more effective than a government response. From Jacob, did Joe ever flirt with you while you were working together? No. When I went to work for Joe, I was 28 years old. I think that was about how old I was, sorry. 28 years old. That's about 10 or 15 years too old for Joe. He likes them very young. From Craig, is there a candidate in 2020 you like? Yeah, there's some candidates that I definitely like. I don't really have a whole lot negative to say about any of the libertarian candidates. But as I said before, I'm not really ready to make an endorsement, but I will certainly be looking at that in the days ahead. And when more people reach out, and if no one else reaches out, that'll kind of show me where direction I need to go. From Craig, what do you think the LP can do to attract swing voters and non-voters? You're still active in the Oklahoma Party. What is the party like there? Active, large, small? Well, our party's on the rise here in Oklahoma. We're growing every day. What really catapulted us into this whole thing was that we had medical marijuana on the same ballot as the primary. I think there needs to be a conversation in the party about whether or not we need to have primaries like the other parties do um, in presidential elections. Once again, an unpopular thing to say, but I fear that there's some illegitimacy and kind of a private club atmosphere that's being exuded. That's definitely how it looked to me when I was on the other side of the fence as a Democrat. So that's something that we at least need to have a conversation about and see if we can work together to find a resolution for that. I'm not completely active in the Oklahoma party much. Um, I kind of pulled back from politics quite a bit. Most people take a cycle off that work in campaigns. I know some amazing people that don't, such as folks like Aaron Adams, and they never take a cycle off. But I'm going to go ahead and take the general political operative advice and take a cycle off. And next year, or next cycle, I'll definitely be back. But yeah, the party keeps growing and it's great. We're having kind of a renaissance here in Oklahoma. We recently, like I said, passed medical marijuana, but also our legislature moved to make sure that folks who had guns could still keep them. So even though that's a federal law that they can, take your guns, Oklahoma at least passed a law saying that, hey, we're not going to take your guns. From Cassie, if Joe is such a good guy, why has everyone deserted him? I never really said Joe was such a great guy. All I've ever said from the beginning is the truth. It's true that we went and fed the homeless. It's true that we went and clothed the homeless, like on Christmas Eve, brought them blankets and clothes and jackets and stuff. We had Thanksgiving and Easter and Christmas and all the holidays where we opened the zoo for free and fed people for free. There was some great things, but and this is not going to go over great. As a guy who worked for Joe Exotic for so long, and I knew him very, very well. We spent more time together than probably anyone else. For a while, I was spending more time with him than his husbands were. That's how much we were on the road. He's not a good guy. Don't let yourself get fooled, because that's the magic of Joe Exotic. He will draw you in, and he's able to just to sense that one thing that will stroke your ego or make you feel better. And Netflix did not do a good job of portraying this. I saw an article today about a juror saying essentially that, and they're not wrong. They're not wrong, folks. There is videos out there. Like, Jeff Lowe's a scumbag, but he's not lying when he says there's certain videos out there. That's real. Jacob, did you ever feel like dropping from Joe's campaign manager just because it wasn't being taken seriously? What was your thoughts on monetary reform? Um, I did, there was every day I thought about dropping out. Because like I just said, he was not a great guy to work with. He was awful. I mean, he would just be so mean, so degrading, so just cruel, cruel. Um, I thought about it a lot, but at the same time, he had a huge platform, not necessarily in Oklahoma, though in Oklahoma, but more in other bigger states, where states like Ohio in particular, where, ballot access is in danger. And we wouldn't, I personally don't want to be the cause of one lost vote. So I definitely didn't want to be under Joe. From Cricket, do you believe the Chinese virus was just a scare tactic to break the economy? No, I don't. I believe that it behooves I mean, as far as, the Chinese benefit from us as being a trading partner, and it does not behoove the Chinese to, I don't believe, um, there's an argument to be made, but I think this virus is it's just harmful in so many ways. And the more harmful that I think is, say something like Ebola or Marburg comes out. These are awful viruses, like jungle viruses that you get from monkeys and shit. And they're awful, awful viruses. They kill like half to like anywhere to upwards of 80-90% in some strains of the people that it's infected. Now, take this virus, God forbid, 2 years from now, say Marburg or Ebola does come back and it becomes airborne. What are people going to think when the government tells them to stay home then? They're going to say, well, I'm not going to stay home. I lived through the coronavirus. I didn't even know anyone that got it. And they're going to go out and they're going to not social distance and, the end of the world. But what do I know? What's a libertarian? A libertarian just basically, we believe it, don't hurt people, don't take their stuff. All libertarians sign what's called a non-aggression pact. And, we agree, we don't believe in force, and we don't believe in violence. I could go so much deeper into that, but I've got 40 questions ahead. I will just say for this, if you don't like the size of the federal government, the scope of it, the endless spending, the endless programs, the endless departments and czars and cabinet heads, you're probably a libertarian. At some point, someone's got to be in the room and say, hey, who's going to pay for all this shit? And that's basically what the Libertarian Party is and does. We just don't really all the time get a whole lot of airtime. Craig, what podcast do you like to listen to? I'm actually not a big podcast guy. I do a ton of podcasts, but I don't really listen to them a whole lot. As you can imagine, I'm pretty busy these days, but that's just something I've never really got into. I'm kind of old at heart. For Jason, how do you feel about Americans' gun rights in its current state? I touched on before here in Oklahoma, we have open carry. We have a bill passed by the legislature that says that if you have a medical marijuana card, that the state will not take your guns. So there's some great things happening in some states, but as a whole, our rights, just like everything else, are under attack, and that's all there is to it. We have an obligation, though. I will caution not to get so caught up in the gun rights battle. By all means, it's a hill to die on. I'm not saying it's not a hill to die on, but let's not forget about things like the First Amendment and things such as that. Because they're under attack too. Make no mistake. Love you, Josh. Are you full anarcho-capitalist or voluntarist? I'm actually more of I'm just kind of a pragmatist. A lot of my stuff is kind of associated with kind of the radical caucus. But at the end of the day, I'm a pragmatist. And I'm pretty moderate, actually. Maybe a lot of that's coming from just the fact that I want to work across the aisle, and I want to kind of get things done. And that's not really popular in the party. So I really don't have a niche that I really fit in very well. From Justin, what's the end game on this most recent false flag narrative known as the Rona? I think the end game is what I touched on a second ago. We're all complacent now. So when Marburg or Ebola, God forbid, comes back with 50, 60, 70% mortality rates, and it's turning people's brains into like goo and soup, who's going to believe it? So if there is, truly a false flag narrative here being pursued, it's that. How is being famous? It sucks. That's all I'll say is it sucks. I want my old life back. But as long as I have this spotlight, I'm more than happy to promote the Libertarian Party. From Tony Decker, what's the deal with you and the samurai sword arrest? So, I actually, so I was arrested about 2 months after Travis killed himself. I was very unstable. But at the same time, my uncle, he's a meth addict. He actually just got out of prison about a week and a half ago. And 5 days later, he went back to jail for meth. And he was really hyped up that night. Here in Oklahoma, meth, and I know everywhere really, but especially here in Oklahoma, it's a plague. It's a scourge. And so I know a lot of you will probably know folks that are on meth. And you know that you really can't stop a meth addict once they get going. And that day he had got going, didn't feel like shooting the guy, um, had a katana handy. He took a swing at me, took a swing at my grandmother, and I decided to end the conflict as fast as possible, which I did. And I was later deemed by the judge to have been acted in self-defense. And the only thing I got was a fine for having a sword that was too, or a knife that was too long. They actually kept the sword too, but all that's out there. It's public record. From Clint. Josh, I don't care about your political affiliation, but how awesome is it that you've become the legit voice in a party now? Um, you know, there's a big burden on you. Pretty much everything you say is under a microscope. I made some jokes with TMZ about Joe Biden, and I wasn't thinking, I'm not used to this shit. And of course, TMZ ran with it and made it seem like I was courting Joe Biden into getting getting tigers to campaign with, and I would help them. Are you a libertarian or big L libertarian? Little L, big L. I kind of fall in between. I really do. I promise I'm not a fence rider on everything, but I'm just, I'm conflicted. It's a tough time for our country. It's a tough time for politics. It's a tough time for our party. And keep in mind, I came to the Libertarian Party in 2018. So I've only had a couple of years in the liberty movement, at least in the libertarian movement. So I'm still honestly trying to get my footing. A lot of us evolve over time, and I know a lot of people will kind of sympathize with that and understand that. But I think that folks can kind of understand where I stand from what I've said so far. From Carl, hey Carl, how would you explain the Libertarian Party to someone who doesn't follow politics? Like I said before, I know I've got a ton of questions built up here. Don't hurt people, don't take their stuff. I hate to say that, but I really try to get to as many questions as I can here. When you personalize politics and you bring it to the local level, that's when people start understanding what libertarianism is. That feeling you get, for someone who doesn't follow politics, that feeling you get, when, maybe your neighbor has some land, they have some fish in a pond, they want you to come over fish. Well, here in Oklahoma and basically every other state, I would have to go get a permit, pay the state of Oklahoma a fee to fish, and my neighbor's pond, who dug that hole, paid to put the water in, paid to put the fish in, pays the property taxes on the land that he shouldn't have to pay to begin with. And I, his neighbor, cannot come with his consent and fish on his pond without getting a fishing license. That's what libertarianism is. When you get that mad feeling about how stupid that is, how stupid it is that you have to have a license for everything. When you get mad at that and you realize how stupid it is and how much they're ripping us off, think about it. That's libertarianism. That anger that you have there, that fire that you have in there, against regulations, against permitting. That's what libertarianism is. That's the best way I can describe the core. It's that fire. The don't mess with me. I am, a 1776 old school American. Don't fuck with me. That's a libertarian. From Jared, what do you think is the key to helping others on the left open their hearts to the libertarian message? I think the problem with the libertarians is we already have their hearts, because the Libertarian Party was, we were before gay marriage, before the Democrats were. It may be, some would argue that a Democrat put the Supreme Court justices on the stand, who brought about gay marriage, but the libertarians have been fighting for it for a long time. Same thing with I know abortion's a big issue, and it's a lot of us are split on it, but for the most part, the libertarians have a similar policy alignments with the left. So I think we're all right on the hearts. We need to win the minds. And I think it's like kind of stuff I just spoke about. Here in the country, the fishing reference that resonates with a ton of people. This is rural country, and it really resonates. I think we have their hearts. We just need to speak to their intellect, to their minds. At the end of the day, is it right if I come to you as a stranger, take 15-20% of your check without your consent, and I just deposit it into my bank account and spend it however I want? If I did that to you, it would be called theft. But if the government does it to us, why is it not theft still? When we make those types of arguments, I think we win. I think we win the left and the right, but especially the left. Speaking as someone who came from the left. For Donnie, have you tried the strawberry cough cartridges? No, I have not. The cartridges actually do really great for me. I love that medical marijuana is something here in Oklahoma. Right now, what I'm working with is Verde Pure. They're pretty cheap. They're only $30. Which, for someone like me who works at a grocery store, it's pretty good stuff. For someone with PTSD, you got to have something like that at hand. Unless I'm going to be hyped up on or bogged down on benzos all the time, and I'd much prefer to have medical marijuana in my life than benzos. From Chad, will you continue to expose the animal rights activist movement? Yeah, I will. And I think a lot of people are misconstruing my words and taking my truths and my truth as being support for some of these folks. And that is not at all what I'm seeing. I've saw horrible things within the zoo industry in my time there, and I will never support that. I will also never support a federal or state law mandating how we are to take care of our own animals. What is your opinion on the right to move freely versus society's right to protect itself in terms of the shutdown argument? It's an impossible question to answer for me. There's no right answer to it. I talked about that earlier. It's a mess. I see both sides of the point. Me personally, I just can't support a continued shutdown. I can't. I actually, and like I said before, I work in a grocery store, and I'm an essential employee, so I know that's kind of rich of me saying, but I understand these people's pain. And I think if you are a business owner, particularly a small business, and you and your employees want to open up, you should be able to open up. This is America. You should be able to do it. That's your choice. It's too hard of a call for me to make for sure. But if I was advising the president, I would probably err on the side of maybe opening up, but with the stipulation that folks, or a guidance at least, that folks would wear masks. Not a stipulation, but a guidance that folks be required to wear masks in public for sure. Like I said, I'm not really in open up all the way right now, but I'm definitely sympathizing with these people. Definitely sympathizing with these people, because it's such a hard thing to wrap your head around, especially as a libertarian. And you have all these questions of infringing on liberties, and we don't think it's okay with stuff like the Patriot Act. So why do we think it should be okay with a virus? I don't know. Yeah. So from Sean, how does libertarianism work if some people are greedy and take advantage of people and amass more wealth and resources than 1,000 people would need? And some people are friggin' retarded, like you found out recently with all the haters. Totally true about the haters. People are greedy. People will take advantage of people. But I believe that we as individuals have the ultimate choice and the ultimate power at the end of the day. There's millions of people that are like me, well, at least hundreds of thousands, that won't eat at Chick-fil-A. for one, I'm an atheist, so I'm not going to support an overtly religious organization. But for the other hand, they, champion anti-gay and anti-woman tendencies. So I don't shop there. I one time recently had worked at a gas station. I thought I could move up real quick at it. And it didn't turn out I didn't, but at the same time, I was making good money. However, the business owner was selling out of date food, is still selling out of date food, not enforcing hand washing guidance and stuff like that. So I quit. And on my way out, I let everybody know. And I think that, whistleblowers should be protected and not forgotten in this. And that's kind of a libertarian position to take, is to protect whistleblowers. When there's more protection for whistleblowers, I think a lot of folks that are taking advantage of their wealth and their employees, a lot of more people will be able to come forward, and maybe some of these folks will be exposed for who they are, and folks won't spend their money with them anymore. But if you want to spend your money with an asshole, that's your choice. Clint, Josh, I don't care about your political faith. Oh, I saw that one already. From Joe, do you think Carol killed her husband? Short answer, yes. From Ken Johnston, can a Ruger shoot without a clip? Apparently it can. I've heard from the sheriff that they tested it, but I've heard one sheriff deputy say that it did fire without a clip, and I heard another say that it did not fire without a clip. I kind of think that's like an asshole that's trying to trigger my PTSD, but maybe I'm just being paranoid. Can you explain what a libertarian is? I think I've done that. These are all, I've got 100 questions here, so literally. What's your favorite cartridge? Like I said before, and I'm not getting paid by these people, but Verde Pure is what I'm doing right now. That's what I got. What is it like seeing a meme about yourself? I hate seeing myself because, like, it's probably some of y'all can tell, I've lost quite a bit of weight and look a tad bit better than I did in the documentary. So I'm kind of chagrined that when I finally do make it in the big time, it's when I was really fat, ugly, and I got famous for saying "fuck the feds" instead of the eloquent, propositions and names I've said before. From Andy, what do you think of Bernie? No, just pass. I don't believe in socialism. From Donnie, what's your favorite cartridge? Hey, from Colton, hey Josh, I got a question. Why are you such a cutie? From Ken B, are you a pitcher or a catcher? Both. From Matt Viles, do you support Kel Baskin? No, she, no, I don't. Anyone that spends all that money just to seek revenge and at the same time claim they're supporting libertarian rights is full of shit. Would you support a Fight for 5% campaign for the LP? The goal would be not being of national victory, but 5% of the popular vote to make the party something the two parties will have to deal with. I think as a start, yes. I think that's probably where it starts is, I guess I should have read that out loud. Basically asking if I do the 5%, Fight for 5% campaign on the LP side, as opposed to just aiming for a national victory. I think we can do both. I think we can do both. We just need to speak to people. As one infamous Democrat said in the 90s, it's the economy, stupid. I think as soon as we start talking to people's pocketbooks and not to their emotions, we'll get better. From Nicole, how would you take on healthcare? I would advocate for loosening of restrictions on telemedicine, and I think that's a good place to start. It's not good quality care compared to going in and seeing a doctor. I do telemedicine from time to time. I have in the past. It's not effective in some instances, but for most instances, I think telemedicine would be a good place to start. Letting nurse practitioners prescribe medicines would be good. From Diana Lee, Do you think Joe realizes the cruelty inflicted on animals, or does he think he was helping them? He thinks he is helping them. He thinks he's innocent. He thinks he shouldn't have been. He shouldn't be in trouble. There's an argument that this guy has mental illness. I mean, don't get me wrong, for sure. From Kathy Murray Cook. Just because you say he wasn't a nice guy, why not try to be a better person and try to get his sentence reduced? Do you think you are his friend? People getting testy again. It's not my fault. I'm telling the truth, folks. That's all I really have to say to that whole line of argument. I have been going out there to the public and arguing that he should be granted clemency. And it's not my fault if you do not know what clemency is. Do you think you are his friend? No. A friend would let another friend take off after that friend watch his husband's friend, his friend's husband blow his brains out. I've never even got offered a day off. From Colin, had Netflix offered to pay for any counseling? No, they had not. Thankfully, through the grace of the internet and amazing people, too many to name, but definitely going to give a shout out to Jess Mears and Chrissy for setting up the GoFundMe for me. I did reach my goal, and I'm hoping as soon as the stay-at-home order is lifted in the next month that I can actually go to in-person counseling and stop telemedicine and actually get some blood work and stuff. And there's a test that I saw that it basically tests your DNA. And since all my family have already got a DNA test, I don't have any aversions about the government getting my DNA because they already have all my families. So they might as well have mine. So I'm going to do a DNA test, it'll be able, from my understanding, go in there and tell which medications my body is naturally resistant to, because I have a lot of issues. This has been such a long journey. So many different meds I've had to try. So many different meds. It's been crazy. What's your view on mental illness? From Samuel. I think the first step to addressing this as a nation is to stop stigmatizing it, and that's what I do. But also stop stigmatizing it, but stop stigmatizing the treatment. Not in all cases, but in some cases, this is the best treatment for certain mental illnesses. It's natural. In Oklahoma, I don't know where else, but this is cheap. Less than $5 for this, and this is lasting me hours. The first thing we can do is destigmatize some of the treatments around this. But we as a party need to have a conversation. I say that a lot, and a lot of people say that's a cop-out, but it's the truth. We need to sit down and have a real conversation about what we are going to do about this issue. I was at convention in New Orleans, and I feel like of all the issues, we should have brought some of these. We should have brought some issues up a little bit more than others. From Joe, are rights inherent or are they social contrast? I believe you have inherent rights. Views on ANCAPs. I love ANCAPs. Shout out to all the ANCAPs out there. I don't really consider myself one, but I'm damn close. From Samuel, what kind of music do you like? I'm an old school man. I like Beatles, Rolling Stones, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, stoner music. From Matt, Josh, what is taxation? Well, that's easy. Taxation is theft. From Colin, had Netflix offered to pay for any counseling? No. From Dane, hope you're getting the help you need. Do you think this helped or hurt the Libertarian Party? It didn't make us look terrible, but true. As it stands, it's helped us, I feel, but on a whole, I think in the long run, when more people and more stuff comes out, I spoke before of videos that are in the possession of Jeff Lowe. I have no doubt those videos will be sold to a salacious news site. And so we will see how people feel about Joe when some of this stuff comes out. From Aaron Adams, hi Josh. Hi Josh, my mentee. Yes, Aaron Adams is my mentor. She's been with me thick and thin. I even had an identity crisis recently with the LP, but I came back home, as a good libertarian always does. Love you, Erin, from the bottom of my heart. Erin Adams literally saved my life. I got fired from the zoo because Joe left, ran. He went on the run. He burned all the documents that he could find, deleted all the stuff off the computers that he could get his hands on, and ran. And that next day, I was stuck working for Jeff Lowe all of a sudden as a photographer and videographer. And about a week later, I went to NOLA, to New Orleans, for the Libertarian National Convention. And I actually rode down there in the car with Erin Adams. And she helped me out while I was down there. I went on a super big, small budget. And when I got back, on my way back, I was given with a phone call from Jeff Lowe that I was fired. So I wasn't even home when I got fired. So Erin, then and there, without even thinking, offered me a place to live for a very reasonable price. And it was something I was able to do. And now I'm back on my feet. I have my own place. And it's all thanks to Erin Adams. And it's just another kind of nail in the coffin of libertarian. Dang. Sorry, I got lost in my questions here. Thomas, would you say that libertarianism is about unifying on the points we agree on, both locally and nationally? Yeah, well, sometimes a local, I feel, and this may not be the most libertarian thing in the world to say, but I feel that there is so much more benefit in having local control. I kind of see it as a means to an end, that we bring as much power back down to the local level as possible, because you can always vote out a city council member if you got any city politician can be defeated. You just got to go knock the doors. So I think as a means to an end, that's where we should start. Which political leader would you put on your currency as libertarian? Ayn Rand. Ethan Palmer. Is John Rinke a cool guy? John Rinke is an amazing guy. He's a really cool guy that kind of like me, just got sucked into a bad thing, stayed for the benefit of others, and is kind of paying the price, if you will, now. What are your thoughts on libertarian socialism? I do not believe in socialism in any way, shape, or form. I do not believe rent is theft. I do not believe that. But I'm not going to be one of those people who have a pitchfork and torch and are ready to throw you out of the party. I'm not one of those people. From Joseph, did you get caught in any tornadoes last week or last night? Sorry, any of the tornadoes last night? No, I did not get caught in any tornadoes. I live in Stillwater, Oklahoma. That's north of where the tornadoes took place. From Zachary, are you against social programs? Eventually, yes, but I think in the meantime, as long as we can get as much money from the government that they stole from us to begin with in the first place, and it brings the system to crumbling apart, that may benefit us. We're never going to take, we've made food stamps and healthcare out as a right to people, and you simply can't take back a right, perceived or not perceived, once it's been given. So, I think the quickest way to get through this is to bring the system down. I think everybody should be able to get on food stamps. Bring the system down quicker. From Dan, if you wanted to start a movement, what would you do from a political standpoint? I would do outreach. I want to go with folks who are, I'm one of those folks who, I'm probably going to be the first person across the aisle to shake a hand, if that need be, and the need be. Make no mistake, we live in perilous times in this country right now, and I think now more than ever, the time is come for the people to rise up. And sometimes the quickest way to liberty is not through the Libertarian Party. Most of the time it is. But sometimes you have Democratic state legislatures or local politicians or Republican local politicians or legislatures for that matter, who are actively working on causes that we as libertarians advocate and have advocated for years. So I think that would be the kind of movement I'd like to be in, is outreach and going and bringing folks from the two big parties and the two old parties, into our arms. I'd say back into our arms, because everyone's a libertarian. They're born a libertarian. They just don't know it. From Cody, why did you trust Joe? Why did Joe trust Jeff so much? To quote Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's more of a fool, the fool or the fool who follows him? What are libertarians' views on women's rights issues? If you're talking about what I think you are, which is probably some more abortion stuff, and even equal pay. Like I touched on before, and I think I've touched on some of this before, but the same thing applies. If you don't like the corporation you're working for, or the company or the business owner you're working for, you can do it. You can leave your job. I have rent, car payment, and massive medical bills. And even though I had that, I still quit. And I was without a job for a couple of weeks. But I pulled myself up by my bootstraps, went and got a job. It's possible. It is. From Dane, how are you getting the help you need, or hope you're helping get the help you need? Do you think this helped or hurt? Oh no, I'm so sorry, guys. I've read that one already. For Daniel, is Joe Exotic libertarian? No, absolutely not. Joe Exotic does not even know to this day what a libertarian is. From Christina, are you feeling any better yet? I actually have a stomach ulcer right now. I cannot get away from the bathroom long enough to go to work, unfortunately, from all the stress. So I've been unplugged from social media. This is kind of like my triumphant return back to the limelight. Is Joe Exotic a decent human being? He has the capacity, and maybe he was once upon a time, but I do not believe that he is at this time. We're all humbled if we're locked up in jail. I mean, there's a reason you go to jail, and either one of two things happen. Go to prison, I should say. You become gay, and I am gay, so I can say that. You become gay, or you find God. That's just what happens in jail. So don't be surprised that Joe looks like an angel right now. All I gotta say is, like, and I'm not shitting on him. I'm just saying, I know the guy. I worked with him for sometimes as much as 15, 16 hours a day. We would go all across the state in his limo. It was a limo, and it was just me and him in there. I know him. I'm telling you guys, y'all are picking an awful hill to die on by getting Joe Exotic tattoos. That's all I'm gonna say. From Hank, have you talked to Joe at all? No. Me and Joe stopped communicating when I refused to testify on his behalf. I did not want to get put on the stand and destroy his case, because I was not going to go up there and lie. I am not going to get popped by the feds for lying. Brandon, what's your thoughts on Waco? I know that's a big topic right now. Waco is something near and dear to my heart as a topic, just because of all people, Joe Exotic. Because I didn't know a whole lot about Waco, even being a libertarian. I didn't know a whole lot about Waco. And Joe famously said that if they could try to come take his animals, there's going to be a small Waco on their hands. And so I had to look up what Waco was from there. And here I am. Yeah, it was crazy. And God help that anything like that would happen again, but don't fool yourself, it will. From Colin, how would the government pay for services if taxes were eliminated? Example, roads. Oh no, my roads. We did some work, and I don't remember the exact numbers because it has been a couple years. But the numbers are staggering when you look how much it costs for the state, for the Department of Transportation itself to fix a road, compared to what it is to just have a private company do the road. And I know what you're going to say, a private company again, but maybe yeah. There are some instances where, in some cases, I was seeing, a 50, 60%, sometimes higher reduction in the price of fixing potholes and the such, um, simply by not going through the Department of Transportation, rather through private companies. So I think that would be somewhere to start, and we can kind of have a conversation further on down the road. Sean, do you believe that all gun laws are an infringement? Um, yes, I am mental, I have a mental illness, and I don't own a gun, and that's my choice. I'm a responsible human being. I know that I cannot own a gun safely, so I do not. From Jacob, do you drink craft beer, bro? I don't drink any beer. All I do is smoke marijuana, um, and the occasional cigarette. Um, you know, who are you thinking you want to vote for? Once again, I have not decided. I will not be in attendance at the national convention this year. I am a dues paying member of the national committee, but I am not a registered libertarian at the time. I was working for a Democratic candidate and doing some work for them. And so I switched to work that job. Um, couldn't really talk about it a whole lot, still can't. But needless to say, I'm released from that and I am back to the LP, and I don't think I'm going to go back again unless there's a serious chance for outreach. Here, I thought there was. It turned out there wasn't, so I came right back. Chantel, that being said, so since I'm not a registered into the state, I don't think I qualify to go to the convention. I would definitely like to, though. It was amazing. From Chantel Jones, will you say my name? You are my favorite. Chantel Jones, or Chantel. Um, Kenneth Vaughn. Did Carol Baskin kill her husband? Yes. Um, Tina Lance. Since Netflix came out, do you find yourself relaxed or find stress with so much attention due to the show? Stress. Um, Rebel Discs, what do you think about the Confederate flag? Um, I think that if you are displaying the Confederate flag outside your business, you are not going to get my money. And I think that's just how it should be. Um, Chastity May Harold, what is your opinion on the healthcare system? I talked about healthcare. I know I don't got a whole lot to talk about it. Hunta, Joshua Dow, can you please answer my question? Do you think Joe Exotic should be free? Yeah, I think he should. I think he should be granted clemency. I don't think he should spend the rest of his life in jail. No victim, no crime. Robinette, sorry, just tuning in. Aside from all this, how are you feeling? Besides my stomach killing me, I'm doing great. I've got some new medicine I started. I think I'm on 2 antibiotics, a proton pump inhibitor, and 2 different nausea medicines on top of all my psych meds. So, it's hard to get well when you're on so many meds, especially when you got stomach issues. From Josh, do you ever think the U.S. will be able to get away from a 2-party system? Yeah, but I think more likely that another party will tear itself down, and libertarians will rise to take that spot, and libertarianism could potentially become the second of the 2 big parties. Bradley, is there a libertarian to alt-right pipeline? Absolutely there is, and I completely denounce it. The alt-right is probably one of the few subjects that will really get my emotions going. I am not a fan. From Fernando, how would libertarianism protect workers' rights? As I said before, I think I've touched on all that with workplace stuff. I realize that not everybody is able to just quit their jobs and go find another job. But I think there could be incentives and whistleblower protections that could really help this and put some of these folks out of business. Aisha, did Carol Baskin cause coronavirus? I find it more likely that it just migrated from an animal species, and okay. and it just happened to transmit all around the world. I could be wrong though. I'm an agnostic religiously, so you know, I am going to be on record as saying it's possible. Sammy, no, I'm starting. Yeah. Tell us about your fundraisers. So I actually, at the end of the day, only had one fundraiser. So I started, you know, with the fundraiser from that the Libertarians started for me, and I had just a ton of people saying they wanted to donate, but either they didn't like GoFundMe because of the amount of money it took, or they did not want to go donate to GoFundMe because since it was set up by libertarian activists and not myself, they did not believe that it was really me. So I started a Facebook fundraiser to kind of coincide with it instead of raising my goal on GoFundMe. But some assholes and trolls got my Facebook fundraiser reported. All that money was refunded back to the people. So what we ended up doing was just taking the one fundraiser that I did have and increasing it twice from 5,000 to 10, from 10 to 15. I think people are still contributing here and there from radio appearances and stuff, but I have put on social media that I reached my goal and I'm not trying to get more money than what I actually need for this particular issue. If someone wants to Venmo me or email me a vacation ticket to Mexico or something, I'm not turning that down. Sammy, what's your next political plans? Just activism with the Libertarian Party, seeing where I'm needed, seeing where I can help. Like I said before, I work best in outreach. I speak best to folks who aren't really inside of our party. I'm pretty convincing when I talk to folks in a one-on-one setting. So that's where I'd like to kind of focus my my talents on. From Brian, what's your perspective on state-run healthcare now since this pandemic? It's a failure. That's the inevitable that's the inevitable conclusion you're going to come to. From Paul, what do you think of the libertarians? What do you think of the stay-at-home orders as a libertarian? I'm definitely not going to come out and try to speak for every libertarian. I know folks in the party who I'm very close with who are for team open, and I know quite a few folks who are for team closed. Personally, I kind of am on the middle of this, but you know, regardless of what you think, you have to admit that you know, there's some liberties being infringed here that maybe we shouldn't ignore, even though it's not popular to say what I just said. Hey Josh, do you believe that a society needs both capitalism and socialism inside of it? No, I don't. I believe we can do without socialism completely. From Jeff, what was it about Joe that made you work for him? I had a lot of respect for Joe before I personally knew him. He is a gay man at a time where being gay was not popular. And you know, that's what happened. Daniel Donnelly, is there any better native libertarian candidate for Oklahoma governor in 2022? I have not seen any candidates for governor in 2022. From Cricket, how's your fiance deal with all the stardom? He's like me, he really doesn't know what to think about it. Neither of us really know what to make of it. We're just humble, normal people. Cricket, sorry. TJ Lee, do you support multilateral or unilateral when it comes to Chinese communists? I don't really have an answer on that. Call me stupid. If you're talking about maybe the one China policy and stuff like that, you know, you'll never hear me calling. You know, I believe there's probably two, maybe three Chinas, if that's what you're asking. From Derek, do libertarians have a stance on immigration? If so, what is it? You know, a lot of us are, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of us are open borders, but you know, there's a substantial fraction of the party that is not. So, you know, don't let me ever get a libertarian pinned down on that issue. I know there's going to be a lot of pushback for that, but you know, we believe in the free migration of people. We do. So, oh my gosh, did I answer all the questions? All right. All right, guys. Well, I think that's it. If there's more questions, I apologize. I don't see them anymore. So I hope everyone has a great night. It's been great talking back to the people and doing a okay, there's some more questions coming. Okay, well, that's fine. I will wait. I will wait. Um, yeah, we'll have, I'll take some more questions if you guys want more questions. I don't mind. Yeah, so here we go. More questions. All right. From Thomas, would you say that while we educate people on libertarian concepts, we also have to unschool them, uh, if you will, from the duopoly mindset? Totally, we do, but we have to be careful because even we as libertarians will fall for the trap. I know I myself did. I'll talk a little bit about going to libertarians. Um, Briefly, my little stint back in the Democratic Party before I switched back. You know, there's an appealing, there's a very appealing argument that I fall into. It's a trap. And that's that if you don't vote for Democrats, you are going to elect Donald Trump, and he's going to appoint Supreme Court justices that are going to take away my rights as a gay man. And a lot of us will fall into that trap. I think the biggest trap is for us not to fall into that. First of all, we need to make sure we ourselves are completely free from the duopoly mindset. I know I myself did, but you know, I'm not definitely not saying anything else towards anyone else. I should say. Let us know. Oh, sorry. Kyler. Josh, what's your opinion on Larry Sharpe? I really like Larry Sharpe. I think he's a great guy. I met him at New Orleans, just passing through. I was sitting at a bench and he came and sat next to me on the bench, and we had a couple words, but at the time, no one knew who Joe Exotic was. So I didn't, you know, he didn't really recognize me for who I was. Kristen, was Travis's funeral as big a shit show as Netflix portrayed it to be? Like, how does mom react to all that nonsense? His mom is a, you know, his mom is a meth addict. Travis's mom is a meth addict. I'll never forget her screams and wails when they went down to Joe's house and got her and told her that Travis had just come down after doing meth with her, and shot and killed himself. Um, it was heart wrenching to hear her screams, and it was awful. So, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I was heavily medicated um, at the time. So I don't really remember the funeral a whole lot. Part of it's medication, but also part of it's just the trauma of it all. Um, but it was a shit show. It was a shit show. Alex, watching from the UK, can we get a F the feds? Fuck the feds, hell yeah. FIF or FTF, sorry. FTF, fuck the feds. Gilbert, what do you think about the argument that libertarians are just Tea Party type corporate shills? Hard to build a third party with them, one despised by half the left. Green Party seems the way to go, in my opinion. You know, I'm not going to argue with you. You know, I really know a lot of folks that they're not corporate shills. Every libertarian I know, I don't know any rich libertarians, to be honest with you. Never met one. You know, I guess Sharpe would be considered, you know, pretty successful. I don't know if you call him rich, but there are the rich types. There's the folks that say, I can afford a private plane. Fuck the haters, um, and more power to them. That's the American dream. Um, we start bringing folks over from from the Democratic Party and from the left, when we start speaking to their intellect. Like I said before, I kind of strayed into the Democratic Party for just a second, um, literally a month, and that's it. But in that time, I thought the whole time that there would be a thirst for someone to say, "Hey, wait a minute, who's going to pay for this?" And I felt that, at the time, this was before Netflix released a documentary, and I didn't know I would have a voice in the Libertarian Party quite as big as this. But now that I do have this voice, I want to make it clear I am a dues pay member. And I would like to plug lp.org. Get on there. I think it's just like $25, and you can be a dues paying member of the Libertarian Party. We'd love to have you. If you're from the left, great. If you're from the right, great. If you consider yourself just an independent, kind of a middle of the road guy like me, don't get afraid from the ANCAPs. They will bite, but it's because they like it that way. um, Cricket, what's your view on Doc Antle? Well, as I said before, I have not watched the documentary. I've only ever known of Doc Antle through rumor. He seems like a pretty interesting guy. All I know about Doc Antle is that he also owns a zoo, and that he, like me, is on Cameo. We're both on Cameo. He's asking like for $300 per video, and I'm only asking, I think, 70 right now. So it's a much better deal if you want to talk to someone from the Tiger King. David Hensley, open the country or not? As I've said before, right now I'm at the point where I'm ready to say open, but I'm not completely committed to it. I think that maybe I need some more time to kind of hear other opinions, because folks that are saying open are not always saying it with an intelligent argument. And I would like to hear some more opinions within the party on what folks think should be the proper response. I know a lot of people are going to ask questions about, should the CDC exist? And under libertarians, would CDC exist? But there's also the minarchists, which I started as, and I still heavily favor minarchism, kind of, which is just kind of in the middle. Clearly that's where I fall on a lot of issues. Jamie, what role do you play in Dungeons and Dragons? I don't play Dungeons and Dragons. I play Magic the Gathering. Shout out to the Magic and Gathering caucus of the Libertarian Party. Justin and guys, if y'all are watching. And any kind of RPG and stuff I play, I usually like to play DPS. I know that's not an answer to that. My Magic the Gathering preference is red and black. Cody, what's your opinion on Ben Shapiro and Steve Crowder? They're not my type of folks, but if they bring folks to the liberty movement, more power to them. I just would be careful. I don't want to bring everybody, regardless of what they believe. We still have a statement of principles and a non-aggression pact that we have to protect. They are core and essential to the party. We cannot underscore that enough. It's great that that we get so many new people coming to the party, but at the same time, we have to be careful. I don't want to seem like a crazy person or a paranoid person, but there are infiltrators that will come into our party. They will use our name and use that L next to their name on the ticket, just to get ballot access, or just to do something like Joe did and do a PR stunt. For Kyler, what do you want to play in the movie? Who do you want you to play in the movie whenever it comes out? I was told, and I think this is from people, I'm not going to say who, but people close to Netflix. Let's just say I talked to them. No, they did not give me any money still. I tried. Yeah, I actually tried. But didn't work. But they were like, well, there's not going to be any movies made after this, and there's not going to be any of this, there's not going to be any of that. So I don't know if they were just saying that just because they didn't want to pay me, or just Mary Alice, indica or sativa. Indica every time, all the time, all day. I'm actually right now smoking sativa. There's an amazing place here in Stillwater called Smoking Barrel. Shout out to them. They have 2 for $5 pre-roll, 1 gram pre-rolls. And they have basically been a lifesaver through this, because it's hard to talk about all this stuff, as you can imagine. So, as I said before, instead of taking a bunch of benzos or a high dosage of benzos, I would much rather talk to you like this. I have most of my faculties with me still. Sorry, Biden or Trump. That's like saying, or you want your arm chopped off or your leg chopped off? If I had to choose, I would choose Biden if I had to choose, but that's only because you're making me choose. If I had to choose, it would be a libertarian, obviously. Kyler, Josh, what are you getting? When are you going to get and get on Instagram? I am woefully inept at social media. I have no idea how to run an Instagram. I'm not very self-confident in my looks and in the way I look. I don't like to take pictures because I don't like to look at myself. Angie, what are your views on illegals? Illegals. I mean, I don't know what you really mean by that. I don't think there's a such thing as an illegal human being. I don't think they exist. If you're asking what I mean, what I think about undocumented immigrants, I think they should be allowed to stay. If they had the balls to come up here and brave the coyotes and the deserts, and the probable death that, and in women's cases, rape, in children's cases, slavery, in some extreme examples. If these folks brave that to come here and seek liberty, more power to them. They can stay. My apartment has a pull-out couch, and they're welcome to crash on my couch. Kaylee, would you ever collaborate with Caitlin Bennett? I'm gonna sound lame or scatterbrained to say this, but I don't really know who that is at the moment. Its name sounds so familiar, but my brain's just going kaput. Tavian, what's your favorite way to consume cannabis? Probably a vape pen, the cartridge that I'm famous for hitting on Netflix. They're very discreet, but like I said before, with PTSD, you don't really know when it's going to come on, and having something that's this size, that can fit in your pocket, it's electronic, and it gives a good hit. It doesn't smell like straight up dank. That's my favorite way. Got this really nice thing. It was sent to me for free, but it's a very nice device. It's a UCAN from a gentleman over at vapepensales.com. Plug him real quick because he's got some awesome merch. Sorry, looks like I've got questions building up again. Mario, what are your opinions on the age of consent as a libertarian? I have a hard time going past anything as far as age of consent wise, anything past 16, as far as the law goes, because I think when you get to an age where you're able to consent, it's a hard subject, but I'm not seeking for massive changes to the age of consent laws, if that's what you're asking. No, I kind of fall in the camp that think that maybe what we have right now is probably okay. Should an 18-year-old get sex offender charge on his record for his 16-year-old girlfriend getting mad at him and posting revenge porn or telling her parents. No, but anything beyond that, working on anything beyond that, I'm really not down for. Victoria, what do you think of Lowe changing the zoo name and calling himself the real Tiger King? Huh. Whatever. That's all I got to say to that. Whatever. From Thomas, for New York Senate, would you have a conversation with Libertarian running for New York Senate on the phone? Yeah, I sure would. Wouldn't mind helping someone out in New York at all. From Sandra, how do you feel when Nancy Pelosi was showing her freezer full of designer ice cream while millions are losing their jobs? The Democrats just continually shoot themselves in the foot. They come off as elitists because they are elitists, and Nancy Pelosi is not helping that at all by any means. From Abby, are you still involved with the zoo at all? Absolutely not, none at all. From Cricket, how do you do Cameo? I'm a redneck from Indiana. So Cameo's an app, and you download it and you type a message to the notable person in question. In my case, it would be me. There's other folks on there as well, like Gilbert Godfrey's on there. Lots of models and sports folks. Drag queens too, from RuPaul's Drag Race. Shout out to the drag queens. From Kyler, Josh, do you have an opinion on Liberty memes and what they've done? Keep them coming, because Liberty memes are the way to the heart of this next generation. And I think we need to up our game even more if we want to pull them in. Fernando, is Donald Trump the most libertarian president ever? No. I'd say maybe JFK or someone like that would be more libertarian than Trump. So definitely not. Antonio, as a libertarian, do you think Joe should have gone to prison? No. I think he should have gone to prison. Yeah, I mean, that's a hard one, but I think he should, regardless of whether or not he should have gone, at the end of the day, that is how it went. He conspired to inflict harm on another human being. So I believe he should probably get out early, but I'm not prepared to say that he should not have gone to prison or say that he should be released from prison. From Lindsay, what's your opinion on Alex Jones? Should he be allowed on social media again? I think Alex Jones is hilarious. Don't take him away, because when you have a radio host who says that the government is turning the frogs gay, you can't silence that. Come on, people. Sean, Josh, will you go to the prom with me? Well, I'm 31 and I'm engaged, so there's 2 strikes against me there. Mario Barrera, is Jeff Bezos a parasite on our society, or are you on the fence about him too? Haha, about the fence. No, I like Jeff Bezos. I think he's a cool guy. I'm a big space enthusiast. I really, really love space. And I love seeing the private sector basically take over the space industries, which is what they've done. And I'd love to see that continue. I think that is the fastest way to interstellar, interplanetary, and intercolony even exploration between us, the moon, asteroids, Mars, and eventually the stars. So I know he's got a lot of negativity surrounding him, and I definitely don't endorse Jeff Bezos with a blank check. But like I said before, I do respect that he is getting into the space industry. That's a very hard industry to be a leader in. Antonio, as a libertarian, do you think Joe should have gotten 22 years? No, I've already talked about that. Mark, will you sue if they do not make a movie and try to use your story? No. Alexander, are you happy with the way the documentary portrayed you? Yeah, I think they felt sorry for me because of everything I went through. And that being said, they decided to go easy on me. From Alexandra, Are you happy with the way the documentary? No, so I'm so sorry, Raquel. What about the people that have come legally? What should happen to them compared to the people that came illegally? Oh Lord. Um, I don't believe there is a such thing as an illegal person. I don't. I, that's all I'm going to say on that again. I do not believe there's such thing as an illegal human being. Um, I think this is a good. Oh, sorry. Um, what's the craziest thing you saw at the park? Joe's husband blowing his brains out, to say lightly. From Audrey, would you have voted for Sanders? No, I do not, will not ever support socialism. From Stefan or Stephen, sorry. How much do you bench? I don't know. Uh, I don't know. I used to do about two something, but I'm kind of out of shape right now. What's your opinion on how the producers made the Netflix show? They fucked it up, um, but easy to say. They fucked it up. They showed Joe in nothing but a positive light, um, and you know, it's not fair. It's not fair to people like me, people like everyone basically that's ever worked at that zoo, worked at the park. It's not fair to us who suffered, you know, abuse. Um, so you know, it's not fair to us to make him out to be an angel when he was not. Um, and it also wasn't fair to all the folks that were in the documentary and were not compensated or told that it would become a Netflix movie. From Jen Baker, what seems to help the best with your PTSD? Best thing to help with PTSD is medical marijuana and Vistaril. That's a good potent combination that I'm trying right now to avoid benzos. But if I was listening to the doctor, I'd be souped up on benzos all the time. And that's just not something I want. So I think that's everything. Thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, you can hit me up on Cameo. I will give shout outs to your friends, say fuck the feds to your bosses, whatever you want me to say, just about, I will say. So once again, you know, my name is Joshua Dial. I'm a libertarian and fuck the feds. Have a good one.